All right, so like I said, the first thing I would like everybody to do, am I right in assuming you're all into Android Studio now? Correct?
Yeah.
All right. Then go to Tools. If I'm going to screw this up, John's going to tell me. Under Tools, go to Android, and under Android, go to AVD, or SDK Manager, thank you. SDK Manager. I would have gotten it right sooner or later. I usually go to one manager when I wouldn't want the other one anyway. So again, Tools, Android, SDK Manager. Now yours is probably going to look different than mine. And if it does, that's okay, because I've already changed mine. All right? It'll fill up and it'll take a little bit of time. Whatever one is at the top there, and it's funny, I didn't think it was 5.x before. I thought it was something else, but maybe it was that. If you've got one in here at the top that's not installed, is that fair to say it like that?
Yep.
All right. But if let's say you've got Lollipop on 22 installed, but you don't have this one installed, okay? Then click the box in there, which will highlight it, and then click the one underneath it, which will highlight it, because that will install this one and not install this one. So if I said that too fast, if you don't understand what I'm saying, if you've got a blue check here and nothing here, what that means is that you're running version 22. There appears to be an incompatibility between that and the platform on which we are working. All right? Remember, almost everybody last week was getting that error? That's why you were getting that error. So again, if you make sure, like mine, that one's checked, and if this one is checked in blue now, what you basically want is you want to uninstall that one and install that one. Does that make sense? And if you don't understand that, raise your hand. I'll help you, or probably better than that, John will help you. All right. Yeah, I was wondering that too. In fact, I thought it was when I did it last time. I thought when we changed it, it was 6.0. But I can't go up any.
Well, try going down over there and launch that.
This?
Yeah. See if you get a different.
Mine already done,
It
you
should
already
be.
installed.
Yeah.
Okay, so I don't have to.
Well, that's the other one.
Well, they both use the same.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Now there's
Well,
24.
Well,
that's
that's the.
but that's the
SDK
tools. Now, did you say, do we need all the old ones?
No, you can just go with the 23.0.2.
Right here.
Yeah,
But I've
yeah.
got the ones above it
Well,
installed
those
too.
are SDK tools, platform
Platforms.
tools.
I see.
You need to
So
build.
I can get rid of this.
Yeah. Well, those last ones are uninstalled there. Yeah.
Okay.
So you find.
Uh,
So you want the 6.0?
do I want this?
Nope. Right below that though,
I want this.
but I would.
I don't think I want everything that's in here
No,
though.
no.
We don't need the samples, you said.
No.
We don't need anything that, what is it, the ARM? Or
Yeah,
the,
TV.
oh, yeah, we don't need
Wear.
anything TV. We don't need anything Wear.
The ARM you need.
All right. We don't need the Intel Atom.
Don't need
correct?
those. Need the APIs. That one you need. The next one you don't need.
Don't need.
And that and that.
And I don't think we
the
need.
sources.
Okay. All right. So when this came up, originally it looked like this on mine. And if yours looks like that when it comes up, click the link that says Launch Standalone SDK Manager. And now, am I correct, John, that theirs should basically look like this?
Yeah.
I'll leave that for a second, and then we'll work our way down to the bottom. All right. The problem is those of you who might watch this tape but are not here today, when you come in next time, you're going to have to, kind of find John and say, hey, I think mine's still out of date if you have any problems with it. But I'm leaving this up here. Hopefully that'll answer any questions that we have.
Should we go into there, or can we just uncheck like you had?
I think you should go into here, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Unless, was yours showing 6 on the other screen?
No, I have accent on that, and I just unchecked that.
I didn't even touch anything on this first screen. Right there, I left it as 5.x.
Oh, you look.
Well, you helped me do this last time.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Last time.
So again, ideally, if you look at this from the top, yours is gonna look the way mine does when you get done, all right? Does everybody have all these checked or unchecked as you need them to be right there? And I'll move this up a little bit to where it says Android 6.0. Is there anything else that's not checked in here? Well, you'll have to tell me later. All right. So, and make sure the rest of yours look like this. And I know this is a pain in the butt. I was just talking to Adrian before class. You may or may not have heard this, but I said that when you go out to the documentation, they never say, oh, when if you're running on a virtual machine, you've got to do this. There is no documentation like that that I have found out there for it. So anything that's in here that says Atom on it, you can make sure that it's not checked.
Is there anything special in tools at the top that we're supposed to have installed?
I just wanted to make sure that I had under the build tools just the newest one, and I'm going to uninstall the other ones.
Already installed, you check them.
All right.
Well, come down here.
But the bad thing is, since not everybody's is ever exactly in sync, mine says install 2 packages, delete 9. Yours may say something totally different, and that's okay.
Jan started my updated, and now still have the same problem I had before.
Well, the other thing is, if he started it and it's done the updates, you should really get out of Android Studio and start it up again.
Okay.
That's a good point. Everybody hear that? Anytime you make changes like this and you're going to change what's loaded and you're going to install and uninstall, after you get done with everything, you should always stop Android Studio running and restart it again. All right? I don't know if you have to go to the point of restarting the virtual desktop or not. All right? But you might want to do that at the end of the day. All right, then John, on the bottom here, this is what's left. Is there anything in here that's not installed that I need installed? I mean, this is all the other old stuff, right?
Right.
And we replaced that with a 6.0, so I didn't think there'd be anything in there we'd want.
No.
But is
No,
there
you-
any extra that's in there that I don't have
Um,
installed? Notice there's an update available here for
Yeah,
the,
but that's a hardware accelerator. That only applies if you're running in Intel.
okay, so I mean, I could actually uncheck that then, right?
You could.
I mean, I can leave it, it doesn't hurt anything.
No.
But anything with these drivers here, any of these extras that should be checked,
No,
that are
is
not?
all fine.
okay? All right, so again, mine says install 2 packages, delete 9. So I'm gonna install the 2, accept the license, and install, and delete, hopefully. And if you do restart, I mean, I don't think you have to restart the emulator, do you? Or should you anyway?
Well, I don't think anybody has their.
No, but I mean, if, like Laura used to last year, she just kept it up all the
Oh,
time.
right. Yeah, probably wouldn't hurt.
See, but mine's actually up and running now, that's why I asked the question, so.
Well, you can.
While we are doing this, I'm gonna switch back to over here, and, see, that's, what, 2 pages, okay. What do we have in here? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, I'm just gonna print out about 10 of them. Now, I'm giving you your first assignment, and don't cringe and don't do anything else because it's not hard. All right? It really and truly is not hard. And there's an error in it. That's wrong. But we'll talk about that in a minute. Still getting the same errors?
Yeah.
I had to restart my whole virtual desktop last week as well, and I fixed that.
Did you hear that?
Oh.
She said to get hers to work, she did have to restart the virtual desktop.
Oh, okay.
Okay, we'll try that. I just close the project.
Juan, if nothing else, you're becoming an expert at restarting that virtual desktop.
Yep, but it's sort of been updated, but I think there's a mistake in it. All right.
If everybody would just take a minute and take a look up on the screen here, you'll notice that the title of this thing is hyperlinked because I took this from an article on building a BMI, body mass index calculator with Android. All right? So if I click on that and I click allow, it's going to show you the article. I've also saved the article out there for you. But the article's a little old. It's using a different interface, so I didn't want to put that out there and put too much of that stuff in here. Because the last thing in the world I wanted to do was to confuse you. All right? But they've got code and they've got a bunch of other stuff in here. So what I did instead was with mine, I literally gave you my code, which I've since found has an error in it. We'll talk about that in a second. All right? So what I'd like you to do is you're gonna create two projects. The first one's gonna pretty much look like this. All right? If you don't like the black for the background, make it any color you want. And notice that this article was written by, can't remember, but I saw the guy's name someplace. I'm going to guess, and I could be totally wrong here, I'm going to guess the person who wrote this article was not from America because we don't usually say feets right there. Okay? Now, I don't want yours to say feets. I want yours to say inches. All right? Does that make sense? So annotate it on your piece of paper, cross it out and write inches over it, however you want to do that. Because I don't want you to say like 5.5 feet. That's that. You've already done this program. You did this program for Java. So you should already understand the logic. I wanted you to do something you'd already done, but I wanted you to do it as an Android app, and I wanted to give you the chance to try a few different things with it. So that's why I picked this, okay? So the idea is you're going to do something like this. You know, you put in a weight in pounds, a height, again, that'll be in inches. You click the calculate button, boom. Now, does everybody understand? That's a label, text box, label, text box, button, and label. Does that make sense to everyone? All right? And I ended up using, I think it was a large text view for this, and for this, and for this. So everything that you're not inputting something into, I use the large text view. All right, then the edit text was for this and for this. Does all that make sense taking a look at it? All right. Now, I'd prefer if you'd use names like this. So if you're going to use the code I tried to provide here, these are the names I used. So I called them, this is weight text, this is height text, this is BMI label, and this is calculate button. Does all that make sense? All right, so I just mapped up those names that you see down here with the controls that are up above, okay? And I actually call this, right here, I call that weight label, weight text, height label, height text, BMI label, and calculate button. Those are the ones that are in my code, all right? So what I did was I grabbed you the text that I put in. Now, Please listen to this, okay? Two things. First of all, I don't normally do this, but I put text out there, code, before I could test it, because I was getting a message that I didn't have space to run my emulator. But I thought, it's probably pretty close. Well, there's still a problem with it. And I'll let you figure out what that is. You can start all from scratch if you want to. It's not a problem, all right? But this should make sense to everybody. That stuff should. Again, remember that's using that find view by ID. So that's going out to your XML file, and it's mapping those names in your XML file to variable names. All right, so in other words, if I come out here, that's interesting. It's asking me if I want to install another package.
It's for that hardware accelerator.
Whatever. All right. But what I want to show you in here, and of course, drag that down. Okay. Of course, it's not going to let me run this now because it's doing the update, so I can't go back and click in here because that's what I wanted to show you. All right. What that is doing, if you remember, up here. Okay? When we build this and we add those particular controls to our screen, if you remember, one of the things we can do when we add them is you can double click on the control, and what comes up in Android Studio is a box that says ID, where you can set the name. Does everybody remember that? Whatever you set that name to, whatever it happens to be, that also gets set in your XML file, your main activity XML or whatever you called it. So what this is doing is it's saying, I want you to go into that main activity XML file, and actually the R file, which has got the address and memory of where that lives, and I want you to take those variables and assign them to local variables in here. Weight text, height text, and result text. All right? So I'm mapping together, I'm making sure that this stuff is what it is in the XML. All right? Then I'm creating 3 variables. These should all make sense to you. Okay, I'm telling it here to go right here. I'm saying go into this text box right here. All right, and do a parse float on it, do a get text, convert it to a string, and throw it into weight. Then I'm telling you to go to this one right here and do the same thing with the height. All right, then this label, which won't have anything in it right now, to do the same thing. And then what we're saying here is that is going to be the result of the function call to here. Remember that formula for BMI? All right. So I'm not going to tell you that everything that's in here is perfect and it'll work. I will tell you right now for sure there is one error in here. Please look up on the screen. See that right there? That's in blue? Change that from BMI label. It's right up above the call to calculate BMI. So change that from BMI label to BMI value. Here. And you might have to do a .toString on it. I don't know because I haven't been able to test it yet. All right? So the bottom line is this. Please look up on the screen here. I want you to create this one and get it to work. Does that make sense? I don't care how generic, how vanilla it looks. That's fine. Really, it's fine. All right. Then, for part 2, create a new project that's called, so the first one's BMI Calculator 1. So create BMI Calculator 2. You can copy as much code over as you need to copy over. But I want you to change the height here and make that a slider. Does that make sense? I don't want you to make weight a slider. You want to guess why? Because I'm putting valid weights from in my program 1 to 777. That's too much to throw into a slider, in my opinion. All right, but the height, I have my height going from 12, and I made it 90. I figured that's 7.5 feet tall. Now there might be people higher than, bigger than that. If you want to make yours 8 feet tall or whatever, you can do that. Okay? I mean, you could go 1 to 100 if you really wanted to. I don't think there's ever been a child born that's been an inch. And I don't think there's ever been anybody born that's 8 feet 4 inches. But again, it could be. All right? So for the second part then, create the new project. You can use the original code as much as you can. Use a slider for the height. Again, that's my range. I made that up arbitrarily. All right? 12 to 90. So 1 foot to, like I said, 7.5 feet. And you keep the weight as a text box. I put a range in there of 1 to 777 pounds. I figured that would handle most everyone. I realize if you're over 777 pounds, you probably have your own reality show. All right? My wife watches all this stuff on the Learning Channel and some of these other ones, and what is it, My 600-Pound Life? You know, she's always, that's actually an interesting show, Jeff. No? Okay. All right. Make the app so that it only works in landscape. How do you do that, Jeff? Figure out how to do that. If you Google how to run, all right, there's, you're going to have to change a file, possibly. Here's a hint, maybe your manifest file, okay? All right. Then I want it to look more professional. This does not look very professional to me. All right. So, change the color, change the font styles, change the schemes, etc. You're getting lab, all right, you're getting lab today for the rest of the period. You're getting lab Thursday at a minimum to work on this. All right. So I expect it to look as nice as you can make it look during that time. All right. For that BMI label result, there's the formula. And I believe that formula worked exactly as it was. Weight times 703 divided by, now, what is this? That's height times height, right? All right, so that's another way that you can do that. I think the formula is correct. Double check, make sure that it's correct. There are loads of BMI calculators out on the internet. So literally, I can go out there, type in BMI calculator. All right, calculate your BMI. So if I come through there and say that my height is 72, and I say my weight is what I wish it was, all right, and I put that in there, whoops, that's wrong. I'm not 72 feet, 175 inches. 6 feet, 0 inches, but if I put in there 175 pounds, all right, and I click it, it tells me the BMI. All right, if I put something closer to what my weight is, it comes back and it says you're a pig. All right, because if you're over 30, if your BMI is over 30, you are considered obese. All right, 30 is overweight, but there's another number that's up there. It's real close, 32 or something like that. You can look online, you can find out all this stuff. But the point is, when I test, I typically do something like this, and I test what? I put 111 in here. Why? Because I know that person's underweight, correct? Then I come through here and I put in like 166 because I know that person is of optimal weight. Your optimal weight is between 18.5 and 25. Then I put in something that I know is way too big to make sure that it gives me underweight, overweight, and optimal weight types of things. Why that? Because, again, notice what it says in here. Show the BMI to 2 decimal places and add to that the values either underweight or optimal weight or overweight. You don't have to use it obese. You don't have to put down morbidly skinny or anything like that. But what I'd like you to try to do, again, if you look up on the screen here, is, so imagine this was turned on its side. Somewhere in here, and I don't know, Luke, if you were the one who did this last time, somebody, when you had to do the BMI program, if the guy was skinny, you had a picture of a skinny guy, if, etc. Doesn't have to be you. I don't want it to be me. Fine. You can find enough clip art out there that's free. I'm sure you can find a skinny person. I'm sure you can find a heavier person. And I'm sure you can find a person that's in between. But I'd like you to try to do this. That way you've got at least a little experience using an image view. All right? Now what I'm going to do in the next class, is we're going to go over that next tutorial. All right, the next part we went over a part last time. We're going to go over the next part. And then, guess what? Anybody want to guess what assignment you're going to get in there? It's going to be a BMI calculator. And the specs are going to look remarkably similar to these. All right? Because I want you to build, you have a project under your belt. All right? And John, I was just thinking too, who's one of the people who isn't here today? You know, and I, hopefully, the transition, like I said, if you have any problems, if you think, Jeff, I think your formula is wrong, then go look at when you did it in Java. Hopefully you save that. Or go into one of those sites and type in BMI formula, and it'll give it to you. All right? So what we did today was we went over what the homework is going to be, and we also looked at this, all the stuff that's in here. Now, it's not showing anymore, John, so I take it that everything is probably okay in here now. So I should be able to cancel. I click OK or I click cancel? Or does it matter?
Yeah,
Either one?
just click OK.
All right. So it still said I had, does everybody know this too? I was talking to the first year people about this. Somebody tell me this thing in red right here. What is this? There's actually two words for it. What is that? Not red text, okay? All right, it's red text. What is that?
What red part are you talking about? All the writing right there?
Yes, if you took everything combined, what is that?
An error? Or a warning?
That's not two words. An error or a warning, that's four words.
Logcat?
It's a stack backtrace. It's showing you everything that called everything in your program. And somewhere in here, it's showing where the error in my code is. And the error is, if you look at that, because I've watched people do this for years. Oh, yep, there's the error. It's in Java's code. No, it's not. It's somewhere in yours. I can almost guarantee it. I've never seen it yet where when somebody looked through their stack backtrace, it was a problem in Java's code. All right? So what I'm telling you is I gave you code. There's also, the code for that project is in that hyperlinked article that I gave you. If you want the article, just so you know, like I said, you've got the article as well in here. I didn't print it out, but you do have the article here, right? Writing your first Android app. So it's out there. I don't remember how many lines or how many pages rather it is. I don't know why but it's probably about 7 or 8 pages if you want to print that out. You don't have to do that. Any questions on anything that we just finished going over? Then the rest of the period today and all period on Thursday will be lab. If we finish that second tutorial today, then all Thursday will be lab in the other class. All right? I know with some of you, for whatever reason, if it's lab, that means you're not here. Maybe you work better from home. As long as you get the work done, I don't have a problem with it. Luke is in my afternoon class on Monday and Wednesday, and he heard yesterday when one of the students raised his hand and said, if I don't want to come in, if it's lab the next 2 periods and I don't want to come in, do I have to? All right? I can't force you to do anything, and even if I could, I wouldn't try to. All right, that's all that I had.
Jeff, I had the same problem I had